Alright everyone, before we get into it, I forgot to mention, I'm giving away this 4.4 Phantom Twin Blade. It's got some pretty good tunes on it, but all you gotta do, you gotta subscribe and you gotta comment. If you like, that's amazing, but if you subscribe and comment, we're gonna do a little raffle off and someone will be getting this Twin Blade. Otherwise, enjoy the video. Thank you guys so much. Hey, what's up everyone? Dark Ray and Albion here, and today we're going to be covering Wildfire Staff once again. I've been playing it a ton. I've profited absolutely abhorrent amounts of silver, and I wanted to give a more advanced guide for the Wildfire Staff after the initial, very basic beginner guide that we had gone over. So moving into this guide as well, if you haven't seen the first Wildfire Staff video, you should absolutely go watch that. We're going to be not necessarily talking about the exact abilities and what they do, but we're going to be going over a lot of fight analysis. We're going to be going over some more tech of what the spells do used in weird scenarios, things like that, rather than just general play of the Wildfire Staff. But let's get immediately into it as we always do on the dummy island. So going over our Wildfire Staff first, we're going to talk strictly money making. The only Q we are going to take 99% of the time is going to be Searing Flame. This does the most damage, allows us to kite. It's wonderful. The Q here, Burning Field, I tend to use this when I'm fighting multiple targets or people are going to stack on me heavy. Like if it's a dual swords guy who's going to stick to me, Burning Field's really, really good actually. It surprised me. I used it once in a solo dungeon against like 3 or 4 guys and it worked out really well. For our W, we have pretty much 2 options against everyone, which is going to be Fire Artillery just does too much AoE damage. In a lot of this video, in the fight analysis, it's going to be multiple people, me versus multiple people, and Fire Artillery's range, it's just too good. Next is you can take Wall of Flames along with Searing Flame. Wall of Flames, 15-second cooldown. This is really good. It's 5 seconds of uptime, so that lowers the cooldown or the time without Wall of Flames down to 10 seconds. So we use this when someone's beating us if they are on us, and it's wonderful. It does 542 damage over 3 seconds. It's pretty crazy. It does a lot of damage. The other W that we may use is Fire Wave. This is strictly to interrupt another Fire Staff's Flame Artillery and deal a large amount of damage. You guys see, if it does the dot plus the Searing Flame additional damage, it's dealing upwards of 900 damage on the 6-1 staff. It's very, very good. This one, at move speed, very rarely am taking it. This is more something you'd want to use a Flame Walker. For our bottom tree, Furious is really good because we don't really cast so much. Everything we cast is a cooldown, so when we're using Firebolt, this is good. Aggressive caster is okay, but it's just, we're not spam casting. The only time this is good, and I will show it off right here, is that we can actually proc the fast cast mechanic of it, or the just aggressive caster, and then that allows our Flame Artillery to channel very quickly as well as our meatball. So it's on me here, you see it starts up quick, boom, 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 we're going very quick, it slows down at the end, and that works the same with our E as well, allowing us to quickly get that off, which getting that off quickly is really important because it allows our opponent not be able to move so easily out of it. So going over the rest of the build, Hunter Hood, this is strictly going to be on Retaliate. This is a huge damage distance buff. The main thing that we're going to be struggling with is Big Boom Kite, so something like a Bloodletter or a Warbow, things like that. Big Boom Kite is just when someone doesn't need to be doing consistent damage. So this helps us with that, as well as taking consistent damage and reflecting on a ton of different targets at once. I get a lot of use out of this. I don't really think there's another helmet you can take. Moving on to the chest piece, Mage Robes is the highest damage bonus cloth chest piece, and I keep this on Frost Shield all of the time. This is really, really good at slowing them, and then you're able to hit them with the E on the Wildfire, the meatball. So it's absolutely wonderful. This is really, really good. I think Frost Shield is your go-to. I see some people like Claire Crobes, and I've gone to Mage Robes and I've never gone back, but I could totally see using Cleric Robes because you still have access to Frost Shield, and then you also have the Cleric Robes, which can be used to dodge things like a Dual Dagger's Clap or a big curse going off on you. So it's good. Boots, Guardian Boots, non-negotiable. This is going to be because having a second Gigantify is so good in scenarios where running isn't really an option. And the reason this is so good is because we get max and current health to cast Flame Artillery with and not really worry about taking damage. So a lot of the worry of casting fire artillery or flame artillery is when we are stuck in place casting it, people are just going to do a ton of damage to us. There's going to be times when I'm standing in forest of spears with fire artillery proc, a bunch of things like that happening. And so it's super important to be able to not take a bunch of damage during that and get this full cast off. So that's why I like the gig here, to have a second gig. We're running gig pots as well, just for the exact same reason. Fire staff isn't mobile, and I don't believe in trying to make it mobile when it is not. If you want a more mobile fire staff, run Flame Walker. It's great, it works really good. But for wildfire, you have no mobility, so there's no reason to be all in on mobility or not have the option to switch to this. Next, for the food, I've been using Avalonian mutton stew. This is just a cheaper option of the Avalonian beef stew, and that's just strictly to have regen, because sometimes you're going to get ratted or you're going to need the regen to go off. This is really good. I don't see too good of a reason to take omelet other than the cooldown reduction, and normal beef stew is really good, but you need to pair that with a cabbage soup. Next is the Martlock cape, and we're strictly running the Martlock cape because people tend to make mistakes when you're at low HP. I see a lot of people want to close out the fight, and with the 50% defense versus all, that is a mistake for them because they are like trying to kill you, standing in flame artillery, taking damage from the wildfire eve, and making a ton of mistakes during that. So I think that there is no world where you run any other cape than Martlock cape, especially for what we're trying to do, and I think that that is important. When you're playing something like Bloodletter, it is very easy to take low IP fights, and with this it is too as well. It's kind of a stomp, but I'm seeking out people who are much bigger sets, much higher gear, and almost rolling the dice of fighting them, and then I'm also fighting multiple people a ton. So I think that's all very important to this build. But the main point of this is to get into some replay analysis, and I'm going to be showing a bunch of different fights, but let's get into it. Alright everyone, so hopping directly into the first clip here, I think that Wildfire is so strong into the matchups that it's strong against that there's no reason to show clips of that, and this first one is going to kind of solidify that idea. And here we're going to be fighting Death Givers at this small treasure chest, and they're going to go for stacking the Q and getting their E off. That's the general playstyle of Death Givers, and because of that brawling nature of Death Givers, it really plays well into things like Burning Field and Flame Artillery being super strong against them. So here I use Flame Artillery and as well as the Frost Armor to slow, get them stuck in the stacks, and it all comes together really, really well. That's why a lot of the fights I like to show, or I'm going to showcase, are going to be higher IP fights or fights against people that are strong against us or counter us. And so I think it's important with those matchups. But someone like this, I don't think I'm going to have a large struggle with fighting Wildfire. I don't think that you will either if you're able to just hit your spells, or in this case, leave them on the ground or target them on your opponent here. So this fight's over very, very quickly. When everything starts to stack, it's just a little bit too much damage, and boom, bam, bop. Now, moving into our next fight, like we just talked about, this is a lot of gankers, and I managed to get the green dungeon buff, which not only we're in a solo dungeon where people can't run away, but I have this extra reflect to deal with all of these fellas. They are a lot higher IP than me, so this is scary, but I think this is a good showcase of just how versatile Wildfire can be, not in just 1v1 situations, but also hitting multiple people with all of the spells, and I'm able to clutch this fight out and get a ton of loot, Frost Armor slowing, and that loot is banging. So it all came together really, really well there for the W here. And I'm able to, I think I make it out with 10 mil, around 10 mil, which it's beautiful, man. So this is the same kind of thing, and the reason I like to fight in solo dungeons so much is because of how powerful people not being able to run away is, right? When they get in combat with you, they're not able to take the escape out, and so you'll see me take a lot of fights where it's multiple people in solo dungeons. And here I'm just using the Invis Pot to get into a awkward position. I'm going for another dungeon buff, but this time I get the red buff, which actually doesn't work against players. It just gives the move speed bonus here. So not too good of a buff. Move speed's definitely welcome. This is a 5-3 Masterpiece Great Axe coming up on me. He has spec. He is a little bit scary if that Great Axe gets on me, but I am able to hit him with a meatball and kind of stay on him here. I have my chest piece and helmet up for when he goes in for the Great Axe, and I'm able to clutch it out here. The flame artillery, just that big dam ends up getting him there. And I'm still worried because I know there's a couple more people in here, and Heron Spear is especially scary because of the E and the W force of spears working really well into when I have to cast flame artillery, because I am kind of stood still there. Once I see him waste the E there, I'm comfortable with flame artillerying. I only get one stack off because of his helmet, which is a little rough, but I'm not awfully scared. I see them moving up the stairs there, so I know that the meatball's gonna hit, but the Bear Paws guy gets hit by the meatball. He seemed a little bit like he did not want to do that anymore, and so he gets out of there, and we win that fight. I'm just in 5-1, as you guys can see. Now, this is a really funny dungeon. I did not get the inspect off, and right about here, I would almost 100% say you're going to lose if I saw this, but if someone doesn't move out of the spells of Wildfire, and this is shown in beating higher IP people and even being down 80% HP, if someone doesn't move out of the spells that you have, you are in for a good time, and it's really important to kind of buckle down, get your spells off, and that's why the gig is so good. It's just, I'm standing there, I'm casting, I'm not running, right? We're not going to be kiting so much. It's going to be, we're almost like a turret. We're going to stand our ground, we're going to deal a bunch of damage, and the whole build is centered around that and working in with that too. Here, another case of two guys just stacking up. This is where Frost Armor is really good right there. It's just so difficult to maneuver out of the Flame Artillery, and then hitting the E is so easy. Hitting the Raging Flames is so easy. I think that Frost Armor is such a good addition to this build because of both of those things, so it works out well. Now, this guy wanted to 1v1 out in, we were doing Faction Warfare. He was like, yo, flag up, let's run it. And he's a pretty big boy, pretty big carving sword guy. I think the gig was just a little much in the flame artillery, and the marmot is like, get down, Mr. President, he lives. I'm not sure if this was his friend or not. I like to think that it wasn't, but this longbow guy comes up, and I'm just going to use the reflex to tank the longbow. I could tell it was coming with Ray of Light, and the meatball lines up. It is just over. Using reflect in a way where I can continue to brawl, and also reflect a very meaningful spell there, I think are both very important. Here is a less brawly fight showing the distance and how powerful that can be for flame artillery. I'm trying to keep them off the medium treasure chest. These are three big guys, and it's very important that I keep the distance here because it is an Infinity Blade, and then it also is a curse staff, so I don't want to just stand still and let the curses get up to 4 on me and the beam to hit me. That's going to be really troublesome for me. So I'm making sure I keep my distance, using Frost Armor here in case the Curse Staff guy autos me, which he does there. He does have a sprint up, so he's able to get a little bit closer than I'd like. The meatball hits 2 people there, and that kind of ends the fight right then and there. I am worried about dying here, but Martlock Cape, whoo-wee! Martlock Cape is so good in times like that when it is able to just keep me up and stop me from dying. And the fight's closed out. I see my boy starting to get him, beat him up, and we get some big profit here. A little overloaded, but not a problem. The medium chest loot is pretty garbage, but Kasuya did not speak English. Kasuya, if you're out there, thanks for running it, bro. We tore him up, but medium chest a little lame. Not awful, but I think 2 people getting a medium treasure chest should be a little better than that. But here we are fighting a nature staff, and it's really important when fighting healers in general. This is a overall DPS kind of instructional, but also for Wildfire specifically because of the nature of the distance of our spells, we're able to kind of stay outside the thorn. So anytime I'm taking thorns, it is almost to make him want to fight me, as well as having mage robes. I feel pretty good about this fight. Now, if I wanted to play this fight out perfectly, I'd never need to get in Thorn's range, but I was kind of worried this guy was going to run away, so I bait his sprint towards me. This means that he's going to have to keep the full length of the Flame Artillery. He uses Cleric Robes at a bad time because the dot hadn't stacked yet, and I was unable to overcharge there. But I was pretty confident in my ability to win this fight without it, so I thought, I was worried I was going to die there, but I'm okay now. So now with the HP being a little bit lined up, I want to keep him in combat so he doesn't get that natural healing, and as well as right here I use my mage robes in the brambles to see if I can purge anything good off him. I end up not being able to. I send the meatball down the stairs. I didn't realize how far he was. That was definitely a mistake on my part, But then I'm in a position here to cast Flame Artillery outside of the brambles. He goes for the E, which is a mistake there because he has to eat all the Flame Artillery, and that causes enough damage to clean out the fight there. So we want to make sure we're managing our distance well. Whenever we're not fighting Nature Staff or Holy Staff, they're getting closer to their E, they're getting closer to having higher HP than us, so just be careful of that. Alright, moving into a battle here with a Battle Axe. And Battle Axe in this specific build this guy's running with the Stalker Hood, I find really strong. I really like this build. And I think it's important to show how Wildfire is kind of the top dog if we're going to be locked in a box fighting each other. Solo Dagger is very good as well, but I think Wildfire comes out on top because of Flame Artillery and the E. It is really able to just stand there and brawl, and that makes it very, very powerful against something like this, where he just wants to do that as well, but I kind of outclass him in that. So he's going to come back, he's going to be overcharged this time, and we're going to get right into it. The main thing I'm worried about is that Stalker Hood into the double axe throw. If that hits me, I'm going to be probably dead. Actually, probably 100% dead. So I want to save at least one of my Frost Shield, my Reflect Helm, or my Gig Pod when that happens. I want to have one of those up when the Stalker Hood hits me, or I want to try to close out the fight very quickly before my HP gets to that point, but he's overcharged, so that might be a little bit difficult, and we get into it pretty quickly here. I don't play distance, I kind of just hang out until he fights me. I overcharge here. I am a little bit worried about this fight, for sure, but I'm able to bring it out here. I want to make sure I'm kiting through the Flame Artillery. That's super important to keep up on my opponent. And you guys see I pop the Reflect there, but he doesn't manage to get the axes off, and I close the fight out. Wildfire is very good in Corrupted Dungeons. It's one of my favorite things to play in Corrupted Dungeons. It's like my go-to, but there's also some things that are really powerful against it in here. I believe here I am fighting a glaive. This is a glaive fight, I think, and the reason that this is one that I selected is because it was a very powerful build. He was in some pretty good gear, and I was definitely worried about it because he's playing the big root into the Hellfire Pots, which in Corrupted Dungeons, Hellfire Pots tier 8 or Poison Pots tier 8 work really, really good against you because of the IP squish and everything, so I'm definitely a little bit worried about losing this one, but I come out on top because of managing distance, which is super important with the Wildfire. So he's a pretty big boy compared to me. But if I get caught rooted with the Demon Cape and the Hellfire on me, it's going to be very scary, and so you see here, I'm just managing my distance correctly. I am running Mage Robes here because he has Soldier Armor on. I didn't feel the need to switch to Frost Armor because I am a little bit scared. So he reflects at a little bit of the wrong time when the dot isn't maxed out yet, and that is a little scary because for him it is scary, but that fight, I know you guys are like, that wasn't even close, but if he does get that root off in the Hellfire Pot, I would have lost, and so it's just very important to keep that distance the way that it was kept in that fight of not committing until it was the right time. And saving the scariest for last, we have Fist of Avalon. These are going to be the thing that really beats you up as Fire Staff. I would say don't fight it, but I try in Corrupted Dungeons to not break the crystals to just improve my gameplay, and here's kind of the same thing. I want to manage distance. He misses the Q. He comes in for the counter, the W on all fists. Big mistake of mine was not running the firewall here. I get almost no use out of Flame Artillery. It's a free counter for him. It just sucks. I do use Frost Shield plus Sprint here to outmaneuver a few spells, which gives me the edge to actually win this, but you guys can see giving him that free counter is definitely a big mistake. The Martlock Cape procs, and that actually is what gives me the win here, and I'm able to clutch it out. But some big loots, very, very nice. Alright everyone, thank you so much for watching. I really think Wildfire is in a good spot right now, especially with the new mist and everything. It's performing really, really well for me, and I hope that this is a little bit more in-depth of what I am doing and how all of this synergizes on more than just a basic level together. if you guys have any questions, any recommendations for me to play, I'm so happy to answer those. I can get back to absolutely everyone that comments. So definitely leave your comment if you have a question. I 100% will respond and make sure that I can get you the information you're looking for, or you can yell at me that I'm a chud. That's cool too. I appreciate that. But if you guys want to get this twin blade, it's pretty cool. Pretty cool. All you gotta do is subscribe and comment, dude. And then you get it. But thank you guys so much for watching. Have a good one.